Howdy, y'all, and welcome to Secular Ultra Quran, your one-stop shop for everything Secular Ultra and Quran.
Boy, do we have a show for you today.
Is it?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are mocking the fact that I once perhaps had a southern accent? No.
No? That wasn't even close.
Yeah, I knew it.
Wow. Okay.
Sorry, everything's about you when you're self-centered. Yeah, right.
Because
that
I
was
said,
great,
howdy,
actually.
y'all.
Yeah, howdy, y'all. I
Yeah.
don't really care that
I
you
didn't
do
even
that.
register the howdy.
We're in
y'all.
Bizarro world now, so...
That is true. Everything is horrible. Although you know what's not horrible? The game that we're playing in my class.
You know what is horrible?
It's a what?
I just lost the game.
Damn it! I shouldn't have even asked.
You know what else
Because
is
we've
horrible?
been doing a reenactment of the Council of Nicaea, or I guess our own kind of version of it,
Mhm.
and we got someone excommunicated today, which is fun.
Oh.
Now I don't know if you've ever he was a docetist, so we had to
A docetist?
yeah, we had to get all rah about it.
Take your
but
docetist, do-si-do.
That would have been an apt punishment.
Get it? It's a square dance thing.
Yeah, okay, thank you. The most exciting thing that happened today, though, was, I don't know if you guys know the story, but there is an apocryphal, I'd say it's an apocryphal tale about Saint Nick. I think it was Nicholas of Myra or Nicholas of, I forget where it's at, like the historical Saint Nick was from. But there's a story about him punching Arius in the face at the Council of Nicaea.
Mhm.
So I went up to Nicholas of Myra, and I told them, "Hey, you're gonna punch me in the face today." And she didn't really want to do it. I told her to like make contact and fully hit me. Like I told her, "That's cool, that's fine." Like I'm gonna sell it. Like, you know, we made sure that where it happened, it was like a good amount of space where I could like fling myself, right?
Mhm.
And no contact at all. So I was pretty mad about it, but I sold it anyways. Yeah. But I was very adamant. I was like I will show you how to throw a worked punch. Like, she didn't throw a worked punch. She just threw a punch that didn't make contact, so I'm sure it looked terrible. But I sold it as well as I could. But then I acted it up like I thought we were friends. But she didn't say anything. Like, going up, I thought she was going to be like, because it was like during the scene where both I and Athanasius, people on two different sides, were getting priesthoods, I guess. We were both becoming priests. That was like part of the deal, I suppose. And like they had to ordain me and we had to ordain them. A show of unity, right? Mm-hmm. And like I was thinking like she'd come in there being all fiery, like I will not stand for this, and then like punch me. But no, she just walked up while other people were talking about things and then threw a bad punch, and then I sold it anyways. And then I was like, damn it, I thought we were friends. And then Athanasius had to hold me back, and it was fun. Could have been better.
Wow.
I'm so sorry.
That's
that
incredible.
You are not at an acting school. You would have got better acting from actors.
Probably.
You know,
Yeah.
there were
But
actors.
it is not hard to just hit someone.
No,
when
but
I say you can punch me, that's
People
cool.
are shy and don't like to do things, and no one wants to touch you. Sorry, Lawrence. Anyways,
I was like, hey, a work punch is fine. That's cool. Just make some amount of contact.
no girl's gonna touch you. Sorry. Anyways,
all right.
Nope. She didn't want to touch you.
I suppose not.
Yep, that's it.
No. Anyways,
Definitely.
we got the Quran
the
to read
Quran, the Penguin Classics Quran, the Study Quran, and the Quran Project Quran in front of me. What have you got, Lawrence?
I have Qurans from Maulana Muhammad Ali, from Abdullah Yusuf Ali, and from Gabriel Said Reynolds. We have the Quran and the Bible, as well as a thematic commentary on the Quran from Shaykh Muhammad Al-Ghazali. That's what we got today.
Wonderful. And, well,
Are you excited to read the Quran?
you know,
You
the
should be.
Quran's never not exciting. It's such an exciting book.
Right, very well written, of course.
What verses are we reading?
So I know we are, of course, in Surah 7. What does the rest of the title say? 95 is where we're starting.
There you go.
95 through 136.
Yeah, and today we're getting into the story of Moses.
Yes.
We've never heard that before.
I
hope it's exciting and novel and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Right,
Give us our 30th take of Moses, please.
Yeah, that's the whole thought.
Okay. Then we replaced evil circumstances with good, till they multiplied and said, hardship and ease visited our fathers as well. Then we seized them suddenly, while they were unaware. You know who's unaware? Someone who's watching someone else's stream while we're streaming. We should make sure that everyone stops streaming when we stream.
That is true. That's a good point.
Which we've been doing.
I do constantly petition Kip to stop streaming when we start, because he has to do it, honestly.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
We should expand that to others as well.
Right, yeah, like if the line's ever on.
I should just check who's streaming right now and ask them to please be considerate about other people's time.
You know,
Not even explain myself, just as you, though, as Milwaukee Atheist.
Sure,
Yeah.
Honestly, I assume that the line is always on. Like
They basically are. Like, it feels that way.
They always have like all these upcoming shows scheduled. So it's like, well, I'm just going to assume there's one for every day of the week, right? Like
They have multiple like every day, I think, right? At least 2 a day, I want to say.
There's got to be at least one stream a day.
At least, yeah, at the very least.
I don't know. I might be misremembering. I might be overemphasizing the amount that they upload. But they also have like their off channels where they upload clips.
True.
Yeah. Tell them about the off channels. Alexis on your phone is curious.
Yeah, come on, Alexa.
That's Siri.
Oh, Siri. Okay.
Well, whatever.
Yeah.
So if we just start shouting commands, that's
so
better
you
when she do stuff.
I figured something out about Siri, and that is that you can change her accent.
Oh,
really? That's funny.
Yes. So Siri's normally like, "Hi, how can I help you today?" But I was like, "Screw it, give me the wacky Australian one." And
good day.
Well, it doesn't use any like Australian euphemisms, and I want it to.
Damn.
I actively want it to.
Oh man.
But maybe I'll figure something out. There's got to be some way to make it happen.
Right. Some way to make Siri funnier.
Yep. Anyways, had the people of the towns believed and been reverent, we would surely have opened unto them blessings from heaven and earth. But they denied. So we seized them for that which they used to earn.
So, is this still the what was it supposed to be? The angel speaking? Was that it?
Mm-hmm.
I think so, unless I'm misremembering.
The angels are like representatives of God, so there's like some pseudo God like transmission happening here, presumably.
Yeah, because at 94 they said we did not.
Various things like we formed human beings.
Right, we did not send a prophet to any town without visiting his people. Right, okay, yeah. So it's like they're giving people a chance, and then they're kind of justifying everything that's happening. Like we had the story with Lot, right? Just recently.
Yes, very recently. Do the people of the towns feel secure from our might coming upon them by night while they were sleeping? Or did the people of the towns feel secure from our might coming upon them in broad daylight while they were playing? Did they feel secure from God's plotting? None feels secure from God's plotting, save the people who are losers.
Those losers, sounds like they're going to take a fat L.
Yeah, I think losers should be our new behold.
Sure,
This is the most frequent one.
That is true. So do we need a losers emote then?
Yeah, we need a losers emote. There's got to
be a big L.
You know, if we start getting loser shirts,
there's got to be
that
a
would
big
at least
L.
fit the theme of the channel.
Yeah, I guess. How many people do you think would choose the losers shirt?
Dude, I have no idea.
On the wheel.
I have no clue. No clue how many people would go for that. But if we made it really good, they might.
You'd have to do.
It'd be ironic because they win.
Right.
In order to get the loser shirt.
That is accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is a good point. Maybe we could, build that into something, but I'm not creative enough to do that.
Maybe, but we need a big L emote.
We do.
Yep. L for losers.
Can we get some big L's in chat?
L's in chat.
Yeah.
Does it not serve as guidance unto those who inherited the earth after its earlier inhabitants? That guidance unto that if we willed, we could smite them for their sins and set a seal upon their hearts such that they would not hear. These are the towns whose stories we have recounted unto thee. Their messengers certainly brought them clear proofs, but they would not believe in what they had denied earlier. Thus does God set a seal upon the hearts of the disbelievers. So I want to refer to this all as a section, essentially.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, which is weird because it's not divided that way in multiple books here.
I want to point out something over the course of this that's incredibly screwed up. This verse 98, what does yours say?
Do the people of the towns feel secure from our punishment overtaking them at midday while they are playing around? But this is like, either during the day. These are rhetorical questions, right? Mm-hmm. Because the answer...
Who plays around during midday?
What?
Who plays around during midday in, Middle Eastern Agricultural Society?
Me. Still.
Who plays around? The thing is, I don't even know what plays around supposed to mean here.
Losers!
I know if they're referring to children playing.
No, losers, guys.
That would presumably be the people that they're referring to, right?
Maybe, but the thing is, I don't know how, because remember, there were passages in here that said that, there were a lot of people who didn't take the faith seriously, that they were playing with it, right?
What about the previous verse? The people of the towns feel secure from our might coming upon them by night while they were sleeping.
Sure. Yeah. So
this is an incredibly screwed up passage.
Yeah. This is, but yeah, the idea at the very end of this, right, is no one feels secure from God, right? But this is
except for people who are losers.
Well, no, the issue is that they are the ones that are not secure, right?
Yeah. But they feel secure.
Oh, right. Yeah, that is true. They would feel secure. Mm-hmm. But at the end of this, when they're talking about the towns that had these losers, mm-hmm. that at the end, God put a seal on their hearts, right? Mm-hmm. Which again is another instance of the certain people being closed off from the faith.
Let me point something out, though.
And it's heart related, right?
In verse 100, what does yours say?
Does it not dawn upon those who inherited the earth after its former inhabitants that if we wish, we will punish them for their sins and set a seal on their hearts so that they would not hear? So this is potentially condemning people who do not convert?
No, this is really weird because it's we've just passed this section where they're talking about these people who have been destroyed at night or midday while they were playing, and in response to that, they're saying, well, aren't these destroyed people a sign for future inhabitants of the earth that they should take us seriously? Right?
Sure.
There's something like that. But at the same time, they're, even within the same verse, admitting that they can place this seal upon their hearts which ceases them from believing. So what is the purpose of destroying these peoples? They can't serve as a sign to the future generations on the earth who have a seal placed upon their hearts.
To those people, yeah, they can't.
Yeah. So I don't understand. It's just pointless slaughter.
It's very, well, it is deterministic, really, right?
Mm-hmm.
That as far as they know, these people could still be saved. But in ultimate reality, for their theology, they can't, the people who are doomed to be losers can't be, right? Because God can set a seal on their hearts. So for those people, it doesn't matter. But then I would suppose that they would need to, figure out some rules as to determining who and who does not have that seal upon their heart, right? Who can still be saved.
Some take this as a reference to stubborn and unrelenting disbelief of most of the people of those towns, and by extension, other peoples for whom no amount of warning, preaching, or even evidentiary miracles could bring them to accept the messengers sent to them, and to their persisting in their state of denial and disbelief until death. Some have proposed that it was only because he was aware of the futility of future preaching for bringing these people to belief that God destroyed them. The statement might also be read transhistorically to mean that disbelievers of any generation will not believe in what those like them among previous peoples had denied earlier. That God had set a seal upon the hearts of the disbelievers indicates that some will never believe.
Yeah, that is true. And that would stand in line with the rest of what we learned from the Quran, that some people are just not going to because God stops them from it. And obviously the story that keeps coming up, especially after, we're about to get into the Moses thing. That's the same thing that happens with Pharaoh, right?
No.
Oh, shit. Okay.
See, one is a sealed heart, and the other's heart is hardened.
Well, who knows?
Think about it with
totally different ideas.
brain.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen because we didn't have a global flood in the Noah story.
True.
What is going on here?
Yeah. Also, right. April's right. Trans historically, it does sound woke.
Yep. So woke. This would be.
What?
We're gonna be defunded by Doge.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow,
That's
we don't
it.
have funding.
That's it.
Yeah, they're gonna take away.
Doge is gonna get
I
us.
don't
Our Social Security.
No.
Our health care.
Yeah, that's not good.
It's not good.
We did not find most of them faithful to their pact. Indeed, we find most of them to be iniquitous. Then after them we sent Moses with our signs unto Pharaoh and his notables, but they treated them wrongfully. So behold, how the workers of corruption fared in the end.
So because it seems like when they're describing, the people that were just used as an example, they were describing this before Moses.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes,
maybe
this is like Lot and
right.
stuff.
Exactly.
It's a lot of stuff.
So we can then take the previous statements about what to do from these people as what to do with these people that don't convert, that are too stubborn apparently. Maybe this is supposed to be in anticipation of the law, because we haven't gotten to the Moses part yet. Yeah, like when they talk about feeling secure, maybe without, because at this point they wouldn't have had. I don't think they described a Noahide covenant.
No,
I don't think they did.
I don't think so.
Yeah. So at this point, maybe the argument would be like, well, they didn't have a covenant, so they would fear the Lord. I don't know, because they didn't know what rules to follow. I don't have no idea.
That's
I'm
scary.
just pulling it straight.
Well, also the Noahide covenant wouldn't make sense in this context if it's not a global flood and it only affects
True, it
like
wouldn't.
a
That's right.
regional group.
That is true. It wouldn't.
So doesn't make sense in that.
Yeah, but this is for certain people in this area that have been warned in many ways, right? Like in Sodom. So I don't know, maybe just the people that witnessed that didn't die, I guess.
But here we have
Thanks.
the verse beginning a lengthy segment concerning Moses, who was sent after them, and their previous prophets mentioned in verses 59 through 93. Other narrative accounts of Moses are found in numerous verses throughout the Quran. We're going to be running into this over and over again. As with the previous prophets mentioned in this surah, the opposition to Moses is led in part by the notables among the people whom he was sent. The notables in particular are guilty of having treated God's signs wrongfully by disbelieving in them or by turning others away from them, as well as being workers of corruption. The command to behold is addressed to the prophet, indicating that these prophetic narratives were meant to give him confidence that God aids his messengers. So basically here we have an introduction. It's saying, so now behold how the workers of corruption fared in the end, right? A formal introduction to the Moses segment.
Yeah.
And Moses said, "O Pharaoh, I am truly a messenger from the Lord of the worlds, obligated to speak naught about God save the truth. I have brought you a clear proof from your Lord, so send forth me the children of Israel." So this clear proof that he's providing is what?
Maybe we'll get into that because the last clear proof was look at the trees.
Oh, yeah. That didn't make any sense.
No, it didn't. So because he does perform some miracles, right? He does like the whole thing with the snakes, and the staff. So maybe they're
Will that happen in this version of the narrative, though?
Maybe.
Is there a rod of God in this version?
Ooh, rod of God.
How many plagues are there?
10.
Oh,
No, I
you're
mean in
going to
this
like
version.
this.
Oh, I don't know. Let's find out.
You're going to like this. He said, "If you have brought a sign, then bring it forth, if you're among the truthful." This is Pharaoh.
Right, yeah,
this.
Pharaoh.
So he cast his staff, and behold!
Behold.
It was a serpent manifest. And he drew forth his hand, and behold!
Behold!
It was white to the onlookers.
Okay. Let's see. That was what, 108. Yeah, that was 108. Let's see what commentary we have here. So obviously, it's referencing the time when they had that little snake battle, right, in front of Pharaoh, and then Moses' staff ate the other ones. But let's see. 108A. Okay, so. Oh boy. Okay, so here again we have an instance. Check this out. Of the correctness of the Quranic statement, where it differs with the Bible, showing the incompleteness of the Bible narrative. Sure, yeah, if you want to call it that. In the fourth, okay, so in Exodus 4, it is clearly stated that two signs were given to Moses, that of his rod turning into a serpent, and that of his hand becoming white when put into his bosom. In Exodus 4:8 clearly states that Moses was commanded to show both these signs to Pharaoh. But when we read chapter 7, where the performance of the miracles before Pharaoh is recorded, we find mention only of the miracle of the rod. Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. Let's see what else we got here. I am currently, we already know that story, but it doesn't seem like there is an explanation of why the rod is white specifically.
No,
I guess
not
it would
the
be
rod. His hand turns white.
I know, but it says that. Oh, I see. Okay, I thought. Never mind. Okay, sure.
According
the correctness of the Quranic narrative.
Yeah, absurd. According to a legendary account, the staff had been Adam's staff and was bequeathed to successive prophets, including Shuaib, the father-in-law of Moses, until it reached Moses himself. When Moses speaks with God for the first time, God questions Moses about his staff. And Moses later uses the staff to miraculously produce 12 streams of water from a rock, as in 260.
Yeah. And that happened twice, right? The second time he wasn't supposed to do it.
Right, but in the Quranic narrative, they mix up the story.
That sounds about right, yeah.
And to part the sea. Some commentators note that it was Pharaoh's request for a second sign that prompted Moses to put his hand into the hollow of his sleeve and then to draw it forth as white as snow. So, that could just be powder in your sleeve.
Well, sure, yeah.
When you chalk up your hands when you're playing pool.
Yeah. Also,
that's a stupid miracle.
This is also the one where I think that's the same skin condition, right? That's supposed to be, it's supposed to be leprosy, but it's not. Remember? So we have we don't know what the actual skin condition is, so it might not be having anything to do with turning white. It might not have anything to do with leprosy. It's just some unknown skin condition.
Got it.
So, and I don't know if the Quran is straight up saying it's white, that shows you at least their understanding of the story at the time.
April, if you're not aware, when you play billiards or pool, you have a stick with which you hit a ball into another ball.
Wow, mansplaining.
You would want to chalk your hands in order to guide the stick without it sticking to your hand.
Yeah, you also chalk the cue as well.
Yes. You've never chalked your hands. Never.
We don't have because there is a pool table here, but we don't have
well, we don't have hand chalk here, but several places that I've gone to have had hand chalk.
Yeah, they
available.
do. Yeah. That is a thing that is very common.
Okay, I've not heard of anyone never chalking their hands while playing pool, though. That. Where are you playing pool?
So when I play pool, it's usually here. But I have been to a pool hall.
Yeah.
And they did have the hand chalk there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The pool tables at the university have hand chalk available.
Do they? I haven't been to the one at the university.
Oh, they're kind of nice, actually. They're right across from the bar.
The bar that I also just learned about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You should go down there.
I really should.
Tomorrow, after you return that book, go down there.
Don't forget.
There's a pool table in the bar.
Sure.
It sucks.
Of course it does.
But you want to go across the hall from the bar, and it's going to blow your mind. There's a bunch of massive tables, all properly weighted, and there's a complete bowling alley.
Right, okay.
And there's a whole bunch of video games you can play, arcade cabinets.
Man, shit, that sounds like a lot of fun.
It's great. And you haven't been there the whole time?
No.
I was going there every day when I was going.
Crazy.
Man.
No one tells me these things. Literally just learned about it the other week when some guy was like, hey, have you been to the bar here on campus? I'm like, the what? So
okay, the bar, the food is all right.
Yeah.
I
think the food's the only part I liked. It's expensive, somewhat.
Is it
you
bland
pay
as fuck?
No.
No, you pay $8 for a burger, $10 for a burger.
That's fine. That's pretty normal price for a burger.
But they got bar food,
I don't know if that's the prices now. That's what they were when he was.
Before, sure, yeah. Maybe they're 15.
Yeah, is the Eighth Note open?
No.
Really? What's there?
They completely remodeled it. There's not even a place to walk there.
What?
Right, yeah. They extended out the walls or something.
So is it?
There's nothing there. There's nothing there.
So there's nothing like the Eighth Note
No.
anymore?
Well, no.
That was a mainstay for decades.
It was, yeah.
So for those unaware, the Eighth Note was the this grimy student-run cafe.
Wasn't great.
It wasn't great. Like there were these super old couches
Vestige
and
of
shit.
Student stuff.
They had board games and video game days. You know, they used to have bands at one point. Used to have bands.
I don't think I ever saw a band there.
I think the Violent Femmes performed there at one point.
Really?
Years and years ago.
Oh, okay.
Long time ago.
Interesting.
Yep. Well, they're a local band.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Violent Femmes are from Milwaukee.
Okay.
Just like Steve Miller Band.
I also didn't know that.
Yeah, the Joker. Fly Like an Eagle.
Sure. I know
Steve
Fly Like an
Miller.
Eagle, yeah.
Milwaukee.
Didn't know that.
You remember Miss G
Yes.
from Nicolay?
Yes.
Yeah, she used to see Steve Miller Band when they would play in bars around Milwaukee when
Wow.
they were first starting up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot of new things today.
Indeed. Let's
More you know.
continue.
More you know.
We're
There you go.
talking about like magic wizard shit. Okay. The notables among Pharaoh's people said, "Truly, this is a knowledgeable sorcerer. He desires to expel you from your land. So, what do you command?"
Oh, wow. Okay. This doesn't seem like what happened in the Bible exactly, or a very, very errated version. So let's see. That was what 109 through 110. Yeah. Here, Pharaoh's advisors declare Moses a threat. This passage may reflect the biblical story of Esther, in which Haman, advisor to the Persian king Ahasuerus, plots the downfall of Mordecai and the massacre of the Jews of Persia. In this regard, it is telling that the Quran elsewhere gives the name Haman to an advisor of Pharaoh. That's kind of neat. I didn't know that, but this is not exactly what happens in the biblical story.
No, it's not. And there's going to be more.
But you know, the truthfulness of the Quran is once again...
It's correcting the biblical account, which was incomplete
Of course.
and edited. They said, "Put him and his brother off for a while and send marshalers to the cities to bring you every knowledgeable sorcerer." And the sorcerers came unto Pharaoh. They said, "We shall surely have a reward if it is we are victorious." He said, "Yes, and indeed you shall be among those brought nigh." So these sorcerers are just appearing. Anonymous sorcerers, presumably, not the named ones that we have in Apocrypha.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But there's a number of them. There's not just two.
I think the narrative in Exodus doesn't give any names, and I don't think it gives us a number either, does it? In Exodus, I don't think so.
I don't know. Check the Exodus account. In fact, check the Quran and the Bible account.
Sure. It doesn't say anything. It just says that there's another section on the Quranic account of Moses in Pharaoh's court. Okay, so I will check that. It doesn't give me page numbers, but it does give me verses. So give me a second.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. In Surah 26, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. 26 verses 30 through 45. 30 through 45 should be around here somewhere. Here they are. Yes. Karai relates that Moses' staff turned into a python, but the Arabic word thuban is a general term for snake. In the following verse, the Quran has Moses show his second wonder, the white hand, to Pharaoh. Although in Exodus 7, Aaron, not Moses, shows only the wonder of the staff. Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and did as the Lord had ordered. Aaron threw down his staff in front of Pharaoh and his officials, and it turned into a serpent. Then Pharaoh, in his turn, called for the sages and the sorcerers, and by their spells, the magicians of Egypt did the same. Each threw his, unnamed. and unnumbered. Each threw his staff down, and these turned into serpents, but Aaron's staff swallowed up theirs.
Yeah, the biblical account in Exodus 7, verse 11, is that Pharaoh called the wise men and sorcerers, so the magicians of Egypt, they also did in like manner with their enchantments. So,
and also says that these things in chapter 4, at least it says, he says, this is what Moses says, they will not believe me or listen to my voice, for they will say, the Lord did not appear to you. The Lord said to him, what is it that is in your hand? He said, a staff, and he said, throw it on the ground. So he threw it on the ground, and it became a serpent, and Moses ran from it. But the Lord said to Moses, put out your hand and catch it by the tail. So he put out his hand and caught it, and it became a staff in his hand, that they may believe that the Lord, the God of their fathers, yada, 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 has appeared to you. Again, the Lord said to him, put your hand inside your cloak, and he put his hand inside his cloak, and when he took it out, his hand was leprous, like snow, and then God said, put it back in, so he put it back inside, and when he took it out, it was restored like the rest of his flesh. And then he says, if they will not believe you, or listen to the first sign, they may believe the latter sign. If they will not believe even these two signs, or listen to your voice, you shall take some water from the Nile and pour it on the ground. These were backup plans, right?
Mm-hmm. Here we also have a motive for these sorcerers and wizards that is not stated in the Bible.
Oh. Okay.
Which is that they want a reward if they're victorious.
Sure,
and,
that makes sense.
Pharaoh says something specific. He says, indeed, you shall be among those brought nigh.
Right, yeah.
Those brought nigh, mukarabin, is identical to a description used elsewhere in the Quran for prophets, angels, and the most righteous who are rewarded in the highest paradise.
Yes, and so he said, yes, and you shall certainly be of those who are near to me.
Mm-hmm. And later verses suggest that the sorcerers are martyred for their belief and may therefore be among those brought nigh in the hereafter.
Wow, that's crazy. That so Abdullah Yusuf Ali doesn't have any commentary on this. I feel like he would. In fact, none of these guys have commentary on it. Although it sounds like they want a higher position in the court.
Yeah.
They want like a higher either prophethood or something, where they have more authority, more in their close connection with the king, right?
Yeah, they want
like a different, like a priesthood.
They want a worldly merit
that's
given to them.
Yeah.
Which shows them to be not as spiritual as Moses or whatever, according to the commentary. Yeah. They said, "O Moses, either you cast or we'll be the ones who cast." He said, "Cast." And when they cast, they bewitched the eyes of the people and struck them with awe, and they brought forth a mighty sorcery.
Now this is fun because in the Bible, the magic works.
Yeah, it's legitimate magic.
Right. And in this one, they're saying that it's you're deceiving people.
Mm-hmm.
These magicians are so good that they have deceived people into believing this thing.
Well, they bewitch the eye, so that they
Right.
do like a hat trick or something.
So yeah, something, an optical illusion, perhaps.
Yeah, like stage magician stuff.
Right.
And well, I mean, this is not in the Bible. The Bible is very clear that they do the exact same thing with their enchantments. So they're able to produce the same kind of magic.
Yeah. In fact, that's something that I'm writing down here. It is just interesting to see that they have the stage magician version of what happens in the Quran, what happens in the Bible.
Mm-hmm. And we revealed unto Moses, cast thy staff.
Oh.
And behold.
Behold!
The
Also,
$2.22.
222 from my unfinished journey. Hail, Nero, Lawrence, and Pharaonic priest fly casting. That's an interesting phrase. Haven't heard that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Quite interesting.
But also, we have to hail Ruben, unless Ruben is Nero.
Oh,
Are you Nero?
No, I wouldn't want to be Nero. Nero's like...
Maniac.
Nero's kind of a jerk.
Yes. But thank you for that, my unfinished journey.
Yes. And pharaonic priests.
Of course, yeah. Of course. Well, let's not forget the pharaonic priests.
Yes. So basically, he's like... It devoured all their deceptions. Right? And thus the truth came to pass, and whatsoever they did was shown to be false.
Yeah, it was swallowing what they had faked. I don't even know how that works.
The serpent is reported to have devoured the sorcerer's deceptions, that is, to have swallowed up the staves and ropes that had made to look like writhing serpents. When Moses grasped the staff again, it returned to its previous form, as it did when God first instructed him in the miraculous sign in the holy valley of Tuwa.
At least, you know what? At least Muhammad realized the problem, the theological problem with having these staffs actually turn to snakes. At least he recognized that.
Well, no, I don't think that there's a theological problem
Not
if you have a henotheistic model.
Right, yeah. There would not have, when it was originally written, there would not have been a theological problem. You could still like perform, magic or whatever. But once you get to like this fully monotheistic model where all magic somehow precipitates from God himself, then this would not have worked.
Mm-hmm.
So at least there's at least they recognize that.
Right, which, if we're following a biblical model, the Bible is very clear. You shall not suffer a witch to live.
That is true.
And there are witches like the Witch of Endor,
Sure.
very clearly have magical powers.
And they're alive.
That is true, yeah.
That they can do all sorts of shit. There's specific warnings about specific kinds of magic. Like they reference extant magical systems that you can go out today and research and learn about.
Yeah.
And they take it all entirely seriously, as if they really believe that these magical forces have some sort of sway over the world. Now, here, that is not the case. Not at all. And so I wonder what the Islamic position is on acts of witchcraft and wizardry.
It's a good question. Hold on, Chris, could you just quickly check what verse we're going until? Because I did forget that.
130 something.
Was it 136?
136.
Okay, gotcha.
136.
So should I?
Yeah, I'm going to hand it off to you at this point. You can take over the rest.
Was it 119?
Yep, 119. That's where you're at.
Did a lot
Okay.
of work for you, man.
What? You say something? You got a problem? You got a mushkula?
Just say thanks. Jeez.
Okay.
Well, you can vault.
Mushkila means problem in Arabic. Yeah, I say that to all the regulars at work.
And what does the oi mean? And what does the ve mean?
That's a good question. I don't know. Got to maybe ask Tomer or something.
No, you remember that? What was that in the alphabet of Ben Sira? And they literally asked that at one point.
Was it Oy and Ve?
I think
they
it was.
They were asking about all the letters, right? But
No, there was one of them, I think, that was very clearly like, what is the oi,
Oy,
and
ve.
what is the ve?
okay, I don't remember that.
I'm sure it's out there.
I have a copy at my place, so I will check that when I get home because I do not remember that. But either way, I'll continue with verse 119. Thereat they were vanquished and retreated, humiliated. And the magicians fell down in prostration. They said, "We have believed in the Lord of all the worlds, the Lord of Moses and Aaron." That was easy. Shit. Pharaoh said, "Do you profess faith in him before I may permit you? It is indeed a plot you have devised in the city to expel its people from it. Soon you will know the consequences. This is very different from the biblical story.
I guess, yeah.
No, it's extremely different. And the biblical story is just denied several times. There's a hardening of Pharaoh's heart that occurs.
Here, before he lets the people go.
Here he's just being...
and it's the thing is Moses was always like asking, to let my people go, right? In this case, Pharaoh thinks there's going to be a coup. He thinks there's going to be a power grab. So I guess expelling them was the option. Which, if you think about it, could also arguably make more sense because, at least this is the importance of God's ability or God's control over people's hearts and their minds, I guess, is that in the Bible, when Moses finally lets the people go, he still goes after them. He had just let them go. And in this one, at least, like, he's trying to actively kick them out, it seems. So it's a very different framework.
So I want to call attention to this under the Alphabet of Surah.
Yeah.
Under the section of Tav.
Okay.
There is a section where they say they did this. They told the king who sent for Ben Sira. Then he asked the wise men, "What question do you wish to put to him?" They replied, "What are Oi and Nehi? If he knows, fine. If he does not, we shall put him to death." And Oi and Nehi there's a footnote about them. I will return to that momentarily.
Okay.
Why don't you continue?
Okay.
Because it's quite humorous.
I can do that. So verse 24, 124. Surely I will cut off your hands and feet on opposite sides, and then I will crucify all of you. Oof. Holy shit.
That's pretty extreme.
It is. Yeah.
Crucify specifically here is used. Let me see if there's any commentary on that, because that's very specific.
Yeah, I don't.
The commentators report that the first person to execute the punishment of cutting off hands and feet on alternative sides in crucifixion was Pharaoh, who crucified his victims on palm trees on the banks of the Nile. This latter detail is mentioned in Pharaoh's threat as uttered in 2071. So this is apparently something that we'll come across later.
Gotcha. Okay.
So in biblical Hebrew, used primarily in Jeremiah, Nehi means a cry of anguish. So Oi and Nehi is basically just Oy vey.
Sure. Okay.
And there's actually a part in the alphabet of Ben Sira that's like that.
Maybe we should bring that back.
Yeah.
So on to 125. They said, "We will indeed return to our Lord." You are vindictive toward us only because we believed in the signs of our Lord when they came to us. Our Lord, pour patience upon us and grant us to die as Muslims. So as servants, right?
Their request, "Let us die as submitters," can also be translated as "take us to thyself as submitters," and might therefore be understood as a plea for God to take them to himself immediately that they might be spared the punishment of Pharaoh.
It looks like they're asking for martyrdom. That's another possibility, right?
Yeah, and that's something which was brought up before in the commentary, which said that verses 124 through 126 suggest that the sorcerers were martyred for their belief and may therefore be among those brought nigh in the hereafter. So I believe that is what is being referred to here.
Yeah, so I mean, in the Bible, he does, or these people the magicians, they do get converted, right?
Mhm.
But it is they don't I don't think they never do the whole like, oh, how I wish I was a martyr thing.
You do?
I don't think so.
I didn't know you wished that.
I mean, I don't.
Oh.
No.
Pharaoh reportedly had the sorcerers killed and crucified that very day, and several early commentators observed that the sorcerers began the day as sorcerers and ended as martyrs.
Oh, this is actually kind of funny. So on the on the anachronistic way that the Quran has Pharaoh threaten to crucify his unfaithful magicians, Jeffrey writes, Muhammad seems to have considered that crucifixion was a favorite pastime of Pharaoh. Here's the thing. That became a bit more popular in the Roman period, where you have more crucifixions in that area. In fact, it's even referenced in Apuleius. Have you ever read The Golden Ass?
No, tell me about the golden ass.
All right. Well, the Golden Ass. Well, it's a story about a metamorphing person, or metamorphic. I guess that's the word for it. Donkey. But it's a wild story.
Seriously, huh?
It's a person, but he gets turned into a donkey, and it's a stupid thing. But
Really?
at one point, I think it's in Egypt where the guy gets threatened with crucifixion, and I don't. It might happen in some other romances as well. It might happen in Xenophon of Ephesus, in Ephesian Tale, but I don't remember if there was a crucifixion scene in there. But either way, that was a more standard thing in the Roman period, not at the time that this would be happening. So you can kind of tell from how far removed this is from the period because of that. Metamorphizing. Okay.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you, Matthew. So maybe I should continue, unless you got some more comments.
Indeed, you should continue.
Okay, great. So 127, the elite of Pharaoh's people said, "Will you leave Moses and his people to cause corruption in the land and to abandon you and your gods?" He said, "We will kill their sons and spare their women, and indeed we are dominant over them."
So this is completely mixed up
not
because
what fucking happened.
the slaying of the Hebrew boys is something which takes place long prior to this in the Bible.
That is true.
And in fact sets up Moses to engage in his chosen one narrative, which is the whole point of the myth.
The whole last plague is like the killing of the children, right?
Yeah,
First children.
And it calls back to the slaying of the Hebrew boys, which is it's the entire point of the story. You have a cohesive narrative there, but no, you want to just get rid of those bookends by throwing this somewhere in the middle.
It really does throw all those parts of the story together.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Because there was some parts that it seems that okay, I'll be honest. It seems like this part was just remembered very poorly.
Mm-hmm.
The other part, where he changes the whole, who does the miracles, and the fact that the magicians were actually more like stage magicians.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like on purpose, changing of the narrative to fit your theological goals.
Mm-hmm.
This seems like I forgot the whole story.
Forgot
chunks of the story. Yeah.
Well, the slaying of the Hebrews acts as an opening bookend to the slaying of the firstborn, which is the Moses in Egypt narrative, right? Yeah. That's the entire Moses narrative in Egypt. But here it's thrown in the middle. So it doesn't even serve the same kind of literary device that it did in the original story. And in fact, it seems like, assuming that things go relatively the same way, it serves a much inferior literary purpose. True, yeah. So maybe they'll prove us wrong.
Actually, this is something else to write down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Never write anything down. Don't do it.
No?
I'm kidding. Jeez, wow. Don't listen to me. That one you can do.
So I suppose what verse was that? That was 127.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Perhaps this will be answered. There is something in a few verses, a couple of verses.
Okay, perhaps. Moses said to his people, "Turn to God for help and be patient. The earth indeed belongs to God, and he makes whomever of his servants he wishes to inherit it, and the outcome will be in favor of the God-wary." Sure, we get that shit all the time.
Yeah.
They said, "We were tormented before you came to us, and also after you came." He said, "Maybe your Lord will destroy your enemy and make you successors in the land, and then he will see how you act."
So
okay, yeah, I can see the apologetic already.
Yeah, here's the apologetic. The Israelites respond that they were persecuted before Moses came to them, since the Quran elsewhere indicates that the punishment of slaying of sons was inflicted by Pharaoh upon the Israelites at the time of Moses' infancy. This occurs in Surah 28, verses 4 through 9. And they're now being persecuted in the same way again. Moses' display of power had raised the Israelites' hopes of being delivered from Pharaoh's oppression. But when they heard that Pharaoh announced the same brutal collective punishments he had inflicted on them earlier, they became despondent. Moses, seeking to strengthen their resolve, reminds them that God may yet destroy their enemies and make them vice-regents upon the earth after Pharaoh and his people. The successive vice-regency of different peoples is a recurring idea in this surah. If God grants them victory, it will be so that he may observe how they behave. That is, whether or not the people continue to worship the one God and obey his commands. That's the apologetic that's offered, though the reference to the slaying of the Hebrew infants only occurs in Surah 28. Which we certainly have yet to come to.
Right.
And very strange that they would not mention this within the Moses story here, given that they're focusing on it so much.
Right, yeah. I mean, remember, the first part of the Moses story in the Quran is pretty disjointed.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we'll get a more full picture later.
Yes. But continue.
Yeah. Okay, so 130, it looks like. Certainly we afflicted Pharaoh's clan with droughts and loss of produce so that they may take admonition. So we're on to the plagues.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever any good came to them, they would say, "This is our due." But if any ill visited them, they took it for ill omens attending Moses and those who were with him. Behold!
Behold.
You got a lot of. I love how in the episode we're just like, maybe losers should be the new word for it. We have the most beholds that we've ever had in a single Quranic episode.
6, guys. I don't normally count. I don't normally give a crap. It's 6.
The cause of their ill omens is indeed from God, but most of them do not know.
So, I mean, here, it's the God of Moses, right, who is afflicting them. So, I mean, it would be reasonable for them to think of Moses because he's like the wizard who appeared in front of them and started performing miracles that are supposedly representative of this God. But it seems to imply that there's some kind of scapegoating, some kind of proxy blame that is being placed more widely whenever evil befell them. They would consider it an ill omen on account of Moses and those who were with him.
Right, that makes sense. So this it's being, the whole plague story is being recast as like, oh, they actually think that that their bad luck. So that's why they're going to allow them to leave, is my guess. So 132. And they said, whatever sign you may bring us to bewitch us, we are not going to believe you. I guess not. Never mind.
Great.
So we sent against them. Oh, now we're okay, never mind. Now we're doing the plagues.
Oh, there they are.
So we sent against them a flood and locusts. A flood.
Yeah,
I guess
continue.
Okay, the flood and locusts, lice, frogs, and blood as distinct signs. But they acted arrogantly, and they were a guilty lot. The Quran here seems to refer to 5 plagues, one of which is a flood. So I guess we'll take a look at Exodus 14.
Yeah, 4 of the 5 plagues, the locusts, lice, frogs, and blood, are identical to 4 of the 10 plagues visited upon Pharaoh's people in the biblical account.
Sure, yeah. Let's see. Elsewhere, well, it says cross-reference.
Flood here translates tufan, related to the word typhoon. The word also used to describe the flood of Noah in 29:14.
So is he getting
which
that
usually
mixed up too?
connotes a complete deluge that brings sudden and rapid death. Some commentators, however, interpret it to mean the death that comes from all sides, or by all means, since it derives from a root meaning to surround, a view supported by a hadith in which the prophet glossed tufan simply as death. And so they're purporting that the Quran is an imperfect book then.
Sure, yeah.
According to one report, the rain persisted for 8 days and flooded the houses of the Egyptians, but didn't enter those of the Israelites. So
Yeah, it says here, so we sent upon them widespread death. And then, let's see.
Thanks.
That's one translation.
So perhaps
Tufan,
it's a reference to
from-
the killing of the firstborn.
Maybe. Let's see. Tufan is originally every accident that besets men on all sides, and hence it is applied to flood or deluge. Well, if that's the case, yeah, then it would have been a global flood, right? If it's the same word that's used, and it's supposed to apply to like everyone, because he's saying that this word.
Are they implying there's like a flood of the Nile River Valley, or is it a reference like when Moses splits the sea? And
The crossing of the Red Sea is what Gabriel Said Reynolds says.
Oh,
He cites that chapter. It also he says it also means death or quick and widespread death. So, hence it might mean either plague causing excessive death or flood. So that's interesting.
I don't think that's
unclear.
accurate, because we will see at the end of our reading today that there is actually a reference to that occurrence separately from this.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to write down extra plague as well. Maybe. We don't know. So is that's verse 133. There's some interesting stuff here, at least when we're comparing it to the Bible. Sorry, you're gonna have to remind me one more time, Chris, unless you remember what the last verse was, Ruben.
It's 134.
134 is
You're
the last
one
one.
away.
It's
Yeah, I
what
was
you're
like,
on
Okay, gotcha.
now.
Whenever a plague fell upon them, they would say, "Oh, Moses, invoke your Lord for us by the covenant he has made with you. If you remove the plague from us, we will certainly believe in you and let the children of Israel go along with you." This is all sorts of mixed up.
wow, what
Yeah.
sort of oral heritage did they get that from? Holy cow.
Well, I'm going to open up Exodus, and I'm just going to check something out. Is there any commentary there from Gabriel Said Reynolds?
No,
or-
nothing from Gabriel Said Reynolds, and it does not look like there is much from anyone else, but I guess I'll take a look at this. The demand of Moses was twofold: come to God and cease from oppression and let the people go. At first, if this is just a summary of the story, but then he says, when the plagues came for punishment, each time the Egyptians suffered, they promised amendment and begged Moses to intercede and cause the plague to cease.
Now, this is completely different from the biblical account, which I'll recount here, starting from Exodus chapter 12, verse, let's say 29. 12:29. We're starting there. It came to pass at midnight that the Lord struck all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sat on his throne to the firstborn of the captive who was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of livestock. So Pharaoh rose in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians. There was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. Then he called for Moses and Aaron by night and said, Rise, go out from among my people, both you and the children of Israel, and go, serve the Lord as you have said.
Yeah, it was
and
right
take
after
your
the flood.
flocks and your herbs, as you have said, and be gone, and bless me also. And the Egyptians urged the people that they might send them out of the land in haste, for they said, well, we shall all be dead. Right? So in the biblical account, it is not the tormented who renege. It is Pharaoh himself who directly comes to them and
Right.
orders them to leave.
Yeah.
So that
Quite a lot of differences between these.
extremely different.
Yeah.
Here it's all of the Egyptians apparently who ask for this to be taken away from them.
Yeah.
That's not what happened.
Yeah. In some parts, the story seems like it has been, it's been like on purpose changed for theological reasons. And then
Yes.
other parts, it seems like he's just forgetting things or mixing things up.
Well,
lost.
it seems like he mixed this up specifically
Yeah.
because there was that section right after Pharaoh says to leave, where
Yeah,
it
we go
says
after
that the people of Egypt urged them to leave.
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So I think that he mixed up those two things and just remembered them as one thing.
Sure. Well, like, I mean, hey, if you don't have access to a manuscript or if you don't know how to read or something, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
then you're going to have to go off memory and also your own theological constructions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But continue.
I thought 134 was the last verse, was it not?
Yeah,
No, we're going-
135 is the last verse.
135.
You said 130. Okay, never mind. God damn it. But when we had removed the plague from them until a term that they should have completed, behold, they broke their promise.
So this in the next verse that we'll get to next week, they refer to drowning them in the sea, which is why I don't think the previous one is a reference
Right.
to the drowning narrative.
Yeah, you're
That
probably
seems
right
to be completely different.
Right, yeah. So that is interesting how the Quran would lose something either way, depending on how you translate it, right? Because it's either it gives you a different interpretation of Noah's flood, or it gives you a different interpretation of this story.
Yeah, I'm gonna look for Surah 7 in the Penguin Classics Quran, and
Yeah, it looks like that was.
uh,
Which one were you gonna look at? Was it the how they translate the flood there?
yeah, how they
Yes.
translate the flood, because the Quran Project translates it as flood, and Surah 7
Yeah.
starts on page 246.
Yeah, Abdul Yusuf Ali says, so we sent plagues on them, wholesale death, locust, lice, frogs, and blood. Yeah, wholesale death.
Mm-hmm. What verse was it?
133.
133.
It's not like retail death.
Yeah, like the thing is, like if it was, okay.
Yeah, we plagued them
When
with
it's-
floods and locusts.
Yeah, if
Here
it
it's
were
plural, floods.
Floods, yes. Okay, so if it was Noah's flood, this would be like hugely wrong for the time, for the chronology, right?
Yeah.
And it would,
This
it's totally wrong
Egypt.
person,
They have
like-
floods and locusts already. I don't know what to tell you.
right? Yeah. And the thing is, consider the setup, right? The thing is, they already talked about the flood,
Mhm.
right? It just wasn't meant to be global.
Yeah.
But
Earlier, there was a local flood which applied to Noah. And now there was multiple floods or a flood with the plagues of Egypt, but then separately later on, there's people dying in this escape through the Red Sea.
Right, yeah. How many people survived those floods then?
I don't know. There's
Who
a
knows?
movie about
Must have
it.
been a bunch. Yeah, something's
mix
inconsistent
up,
here.
Well, they don't do the slaying of the firstborn. They have floods and things
Well, the
that
thing is,
just
remember,
like torment the people.
Right, it could also just be generally like death, but like
Death
what-
from all sides.
yeah, what does that mean exactly? Like that doesn't tell us much. Yeah, a quick widespread death. Like, is it supposed to be referencing a disease? I don't know. By the way, if it's the same word that's used for flood, then how do you interpret the? Okay, never mind.
Yeah,
Well,
how would
that's
you
today's
interpret the
reading.
Noah story
Right, yeah.
retroactively?
Because but it could also mean flood. Like, yeah, sure, I guess it can, but like,
Then instead of saying there's going to be a flood, is he saying there's going to be death from all sides?
maybe.
Is that what's actually being communicated? But does it culturally always have the implication of flood when you say death from all sides? Like how in Vajrayana Buddhism, you have like the 100 million stuff, and it really just means like a whole bunch, as much as you could
sure.
possibly think of.
So I'm currently looking back to see some of the Noah stuff, because if it says like more about water, then you can guess from like context, right, that they're talking about literal water. They're talking about a literal flood, and because this one doesn't talk about literal water, then there is an open route to interpret it in a different way. Now I don't know which one is right, which is the correct one. But
I think
either
he
way,
recounted the story incorrectly.
that would work. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that's what I would
I mean,
say.
look, the biblical account definitely precedes the writing of the Quran
For surely.
with absolute certainty.
Yeah.
As close as we can get.
Yeah. But remember, they believe that they have the right version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is clearly something that's like recounted from bad memory. And look, if it is the case that it's one of the later surahs, then it would make sense that a lot of this stuff would get mixed up. But I mean, if it's the case that it's genuinely revealed through Gabriel or some nonsense, then it really doesn't make any sense that they would have these inconsistencies, or why major parts of the narrative would appear in one recounting of the tale while not appearing in another recounting of the tale, but seem to just be strewn about in random places that don't make sense in the chronology.
I mean, yes, but I also think that even if no matter what explanation you have for it, something is funky. Like you wind up with something that's off.
Yeah.
Hey guys, Abraham shows up again.
Cool.
Oh,
He
sure.
just
he
came
will.
back. Here he is. He doesn't do anything.
He's got a bow tie now.
Like, we're gonna have another couple of episodes in Surah 7.
Yeah.
And afterwards we'll be moving on to Surah 8.
Ah,
And there's a
nice.
lot more surahs afterwards.
I don't believe
There
it.
are.
You know, once we're done with this book, we will only have one more Abrahamic book in the whole Abrahamic canon.
Oh, yeah.
Is it this one right here?
Yes, it's that one right
Is it this
there.
one, the Book of Mormon?
The book that was like stapled on. It's literally another testament of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it does
says-
say another testament.
Yeah,
of Jesus
another
Christ.
testament.
Yeah.
Which
Now, does that
is
mean
just wonderful.
does that mean we have to reread the Bible again?
No.
No, let's
No,
not.
no. In fact,
Look,
I think
you're
we'll have
already
fun
rereading
reading
the Bible again.
Mormonism stuff, or whatever. Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
the thing is, I think that on the Bible, we have really said most of what can reasonably said to people outside of a scholarly audience for much of the Bible.
For a lot of it, yeah.
Yeah. And for a scholarly audience, I don't think they care about
No,
us.
no, not even
They
a little.
should have.
No.
We said a lot of stuff that was important.
Yeah, we were big brained,
I don't know about
especially you.
that. Oh,
We're producers
Chris knew
of
a
the
lot.
world's first degree in atheology.
That is a yes.
sure.
Let's go.
All
with
right.
that.
Well,
That's the show for today.
We're
make
gonna see you on Wednesday.
Make sure you drop a like if you haven't done that.
Do
Subscribe.
the things.
Uh,
Amazon wish
Amazon
list.
wish list. and other links and shirts in
Fan
the description.
songs. You can write us songs.
Yeah, write us a song. Ruben loves
Post them in
songs.
the music channel in our Discord.
Yeah.
Put a
that's true.
meme there. I like your memes, guys. Keep it up.
Also, someone write a song about Chris. He
No.
could really use a song right now.
They don't know anything about me. All right, goodbye.
Write him a